Madam Clerk, please read the roll.
Mr. Dean?
Mr. Fitzgerald. Ms. Casabon. Mr. Lorino. Mr. Toledano. Ms. Tanner. Mr. Davis.
Here.
Mr. Canulet. Mr. Smith. Ms. O'Brien. Mr. Lachlan. Mr. Bender. Mr. Airy.
Here.
And Mr. Randolph. We have a quorum.
All right, thank you. Please rise for the pledge. Mr. Davis, you lead us in that.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Councilman Randolph.
Gracious Father, once again, we come to you to say thank you. Lord, we thank you once again for your grace and mercy that you allowed us to experience and witness this entire day. Thank you for taking care of us and protecting us, leading and guiding us. Lord, we thank you for our parish and our government, our administration, our council, Lord, and we thank you for, most importantly, for the residents that we serve and the constituents. Lord, we ask that you continue to bless every home, bless every family. Lord, keep us safe from all hurt, harm, and danger. It's in your holy name, amen. Amen.
You want to do that now, Reichard? Go ahead, Mr. Toledano.
Yeah, Mr. Airy, thank you very much. Just a moment to pause. Doing my campaigning and knocking on some doors, I met a great gentleman by the name of Richard Meekum, and he's very much a flag expert, and he called to our attention some misplacement of flags and was kind enough to work with Ashley and her office in rearranging that and providing the braces that open those flags up. And I just want to acknowledge and thank him for that effort and concern and caring attitude. Thank you very much, Mr. Airy.
Thank you. First, we have a public announcement, public hearing, Board of Review. In accordance with the revisions of Louisiana Revised Statute 47:1992, the St. Tammany Parish Council hereby convenes in public session as a Board of Review to entertain complaints and/or appeals from any taxpayers aggrieved by ad valorem assessments levied against his, her, their property. The Assessor of St. Tammany Parish has duly advertised notice of this public hearing in accordance with law. The deadline for receipt appeals by taxpayers to the Board of Review will be 4:30 p.m. September 11th, 2023. So that's 4 p.m. September 11, 2023. If no appeals are lodged by this date, or if the appeals lodged are resolved through the parish assessor's office, the time will automatically expire and terminate without the need for the parish council to reconvene to so declare. So get your appeals in if you have any. Public comment, a 3-minute time limit is established for each member of the public wishing to speak for or against an item on the agenda, accepts appeals. To ensure that all speakers are heard, please hold cheers and applause. Anyone who wishes to place a comment in the public record but who does not wish to speak at the podium may fill out a speaker card and check the box indicating they do not wish to speak. All right, moving on. Presentations, number 1, presentation and proclamation of St. Tammany Parish Government Employee of the Month. President Cooper.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening, everyone. This is the time each and every month where I have the opportunity to present a proclamation to Employee of the Month. And this evening, I have the distinct honor of recognizing Dr. Lisa Johnston of Animal Services. She's our in-house veterinarian, full-time veterinarian, who took office, or who took her office in March of 2021. So I'd like to invite Dr. Johnston up to the podium as I read this. Thank you. Whereas Dr. Lisa Johnston has served as shelter veterinarian for the Department of Animal Services since she began her employment with St. Tammany Parish government in March of 2021. And whereas in that time, Dr. Johnston has overseen and provided care for nearly 10,000 animals in the parish shelter system, including caring for over 2,600 animals so far this year. And whereas Dr. Johnston has performed 5,206 surgeries in her tenure with St. Tammany Parish, with a remarkable 1,447 occurring this year alone. And whereas Dr. Johnston is undeniably devoted to the pets of animal services, as she is called upon to provide clinical care to the shelter residents 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, and will even come to the shelter on her days off to check on her patients and assist other staff members in her duties. And whereas in every situation, Dr. Johnston manages to be kind, compassionate, and provide a high level of care to each of the animals she treats to not only ensure their health, but their comfort and overall well-being. And whereas Dr. Johnston has fixed over 1,800 cats for our Trap, Neuter, Return Community Cats program since the program's inception in 2021, and has been an extraordinary partner in attaining and maintaining our no-kill shelter status since 2021. For 2.5 years, we've maintained a no-kill shelter status, which is remarkable for a public shelter, and it's attributable to all of our staff members, our director, but particularly our full-time veterinarian, Dr. Lisa Johnston. And whereas Dr. Johnston is truly an asset to our Animal Services Department and the veterinary community as a whole, as her knowledge and skills are utilized every day to make a real difference in the lives of animals across St. Tammany Parish. Now therefore, I, Michael B. Cooper, as parish president of this great parish, do hereby recognize the hard work and dedication and accomplishments of Dr. Lisa Johnston as Employee of the Month, September 2023, and encourage all citizens of St. Tammany Parish to thank her for her contributions and commitment to our great parish. Congratulations, Dr. Lisa.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Would you like to say a few words?
Yes.
Yeah, please do.
Thank you, Mr. President, for the honor you bestowed on me tonight, and thank you for the kind words. I've only been at the shelter for 2.5 years, but I know that I've landed in the right place. Since I began working there, including up until now, whenever somebody asks me, how's your job going? Do you like it? My answer has always been, I love it, because I truly do. From the leadership to the other staff members, we work together as a team, and I really think that we make a difference in this parish. I also want to thank you, Mr. Cooper. Because of you and the support that your administration has bestowed upon us, we have been able to accomplish quite a bit. Thank you again for this honor. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Lisa, Dr. Johnson is here with her husband, Danny, and her son, Sawyer, and she was nominated by her director, Rob Rimmer. Rob Rimmer. I'm trying to remember all these names. Congratulations again. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Number 2, presentation to the Candy Bank on appearing in USA Today's Top 10 Candy Stores in the Country ranking. So Brian, oh, sorry.
Well, as I've said before, I'm always so excited when I get to do a presentation, and we have something really special. I don't know if y'all realized it, but Lisa and Thomas Kiefer own the 6th best candy store in the entire country. That country, as noted by USA Today. So I wanted to recognize them. This is something remarkable. Lisa's a kind of incredible individual. She's been on Survivor. You can tell us a little bit about that. But she's got an interesting story. So I wanted them to talk about it first, and then I'll give them their certificate of recognition for something so incredibly special.
I'll start, and then I'll turn it over to my better half. Thank you very much for calling us here tonight. And when people ask me, how's business, I say we're still married. That's how business is. After practicing law for 30 years, I thought it'd be more fun to have a candy shop, and actually it is. And I attribute much of that success to Lisa, whom 30 years ago tomorrow I met. So I'm going to get some major brownie points for mentioning that on live TV, and at that, I'll turn it over to her.
Well, thank you very much, first of all, to the parish, and also, of course, to USA Today, and mostly to the voters, because we wouldn't be here without that. So we started about 8 years ago. This August 31st, we're going into our 8th year. We have the St. Tammany Parish Bank Building. I don't know if you're familiar with that. It's built in 1906, I believe, right? Is that around then? And it was actually, there's a history there, real quick. It was, I believe, targeted to be robbed by Bonnie and Clyde. So I think they were ambushed before that happened, so that was a good thing. But anyway, fast forward, we, about 8 years ago, my youngest son said, hey, why don't we have a candy store? And this one right here said, yeah, great idea. And this one right here said, no, who's going to run it? And he's like, oh, it'll be easy. Just get some candy and sell it, and we'll be fine. And anyway, I went in kicking and screaming, and 8 years later, here we are. We visited a lot of candy stores. We had no idea what we were doing. And we just, together, Thomas is very creative, and we both like nostalgic things. We grew up uptown and antiques and things like that. So we just put our heads together, and it came out really cute. And now we have the number 6 candy store in the nation. So it's really an honor. We were not expecting that. We were contacted by USA Today, and ever since then, now we were busy, and now we're really busy. So, but it's fun. We are in the process of converting the 2nd and 3rd floor to a boutique hotel. So that's going to be really sweet. Get it? It's going to be called the Tammany, a boutique hotel. So then whoever stays there gets candy too. So anyway, thank you again for recognizing us. It's really an honor, and we're very, very happy. So thank you.
Thank you all.
And talking about brownie points, if you want brownie points with your kids, your grandkids, or your spouse, you need to go visit. It is a very unique place. It's beautiful. So here's our certificate of recognition. The St. Tammany Parish Council desires to acknowledge and recognize the Candy Bank on appearing in the USA Today's top 10 candy stores in the country's ranking. Whereas the Candy Bank, located in the historic St. Tammany Bank Building in Mandeville, is considered the 6th best candy store in the country by USA Today. Whereas this family-owned and operated St. Tammany institution, opened in 2016 by Lisa and Thomas Kiefer, serves a wonderful location for families to patronize. And whereas the national recognition that comes with the favorable USA Today publicity is sure to bring families to St. Tammany Parish from all over the state and country. Whereas the council is proud of our local businesses, and the Candy Bank is no exception to that. And whereas the council sees the Candy Bank as an inspiration to family-owned businesses in the parish, and hope that this national recognition will serve as encouragement to other small business owners. The Parish of St. Tammany hereby resolves that it recognizes the Candy Bank in its accomplishment as the 6th best candy store in the country by USA Today.
Thank you, Mom. Thank you. We appreciate it. Okay,
You want to open it up so we can see it? Okay.
Congratulations. Thank you so much. Thank you guys again. Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, moving on. Presentation number 3, which was going to be a presentation by Senator Beth Mizell. Due to some scheduling conflicts, we're unable to do that, so we'll look to reschedule that at a later date. Moving on to appointments. Resolution to appoint 2 nominees to replace Patrick Fitzmaurice and Chris Smale on the St. Tammany Parish Planning and Zoning Board of Commissioner. Do I have some nominations for that?
Yes.
Mr. Davis?
I'd like to nominate Gary Narcisse for one of the positions for planning and zoning, and Mr. Narcisse is here. If you don't mind, come up. And we've already had some interviews with this gentleman, and I just thought I'd let him introduce himself.
I was out planning in the community, trying to come up with an event when I get a call from Councilman Davis. He says, "Would you like to serve on the Planning and Zoning Commission?" I said, "Yes, 100%. I would love an opportunity to serve." And then I thought, wait, let me call my wife.
That's true.
She graciously said yes, and I appreciate the opportunity, if I'm able, if you guys agree, to serve the community and move forward together. Thank you.
Thank you.
We just need a second on that.
Yes.
Second, all right. Do we want to vote on that one individually and then go to
Sure.
the next one? All right, we have a motion second. All in favor, please vote.
The motion is unanimous with 2 absent.
Thank you. Okay, do we have a nomination, any other nominations?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
Chair and to the council. I'd like to nominate for the other planning and zoning position, commission position, Mr. Jason Horn. Mr. Jason Horn is a resident of Slidell, been very involved in the area, in the community, and he also knows Taekwondo. But I'm gonna let him speak for himself.
Go ahead, sir.
Good evening, council. How are you? My name is Jason B. Horn. In my business, I go by Master Horn. I'm the owner of Excess Martial Arts Dojo. We've been around 21 years. I'm also a retired veteran of the United States Air Force. I served in the National Guard for over 21 years. During that tenure, I served as an occupational safety and health manager, and it dealt a lot with environmental surveys, things like that. So I think that this would be a good place for me to do my part in Slidell as volunteering and serving the community. We do a lot of outreach to the community as it is already. We have one location in New Orleans, we have one in Slidell. We've been here approximately 3 years coming up this December, and my home and my business are both in District 14. So I'm here. Any questions? I'm willing to serve, and I'm going to do the best for St. Tammany.
Thank you, sir.
And I so move.
Second by Mr. Laughlin. Any other comment? Seeing none, please vote.
The motion is unanimous with 1 absent.
I did.
All right. Number 2, resolution to appoint.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, this would need to lay over. Does anybody want to move to suspend the rules to adopt now? Second? Okay. Any discussion on that? Please vote.
Mr. Toledano. The motion is unanimous with 1 absent.
All right. Well, I was doing both.
They're
That
together.
was for both of them, just to clarify the motion to suspend the rules to appoint for both. Number 2, resolution to reappoint David Howe to the Board of Commissioners for Fire District Number 7. Stanner? Moved by Ms. Stanner, second by Mr. Davis. Any discussion? Please vote.
Mr. Lorino. The motion is unanimous with 1 absent.
Number 3, resolution to appoint Dexter Cardo as the alternate. I'm sorry. We're going to move number 3. We'll table that until it's going to be on page 10, number 24 of your agenda, because we have to vote on whether or not we're going to allow alternates at the time. Oh, I have to vote to table it. Okay, I need a motion to table. Second, moved by Mr. Bryan, second by Mr. Smith. Please vote.
The motion is unanimous with 2 absent.
Right, consent calendar. Any items not pulled from the consent calendar are automatically approved in whole by one vote. Item pulled from the consent calendar discussed and voted upon individually. Majority vote of the entire council, 8 is required to adopt the consent calendar. So right now I have items to pull. I have ordinances, number 16, ordinance calendar number 7373. Number 20, ordinance calendar number 7377. Ordinance calendar number 24, 7381. That is all I have at the present. All right, so we had number 16, which is 7373, and that's from Ms. Stevens in the audience. Number 20, ordinance calendar number 7377, and number 24, which is ordinance calendar number 7381. Looking to my right, have anybody who would pull anything? No. My left, anyone? Administration, President Cooper, anything? Anyone out in the audience other than Ms. Stevens? All right. All right. I would entertain a motion, lest the items that have been pulled. Moved by Mr. Canulet, second by Ms. O'Brien. Please vote.
The motion is unanimous with one absent.
All right, number 16, which is ordinance calendar number 7373, ordinance to amend the 2023 capital improvement budget and capital assets. Amendment number 46, parish-wide roads and drainage projects. Ms. Stevens, you put in a card. Terry Lewis Stevens. There you go.
Good evening. And first of all, congratulations to Mr. Narcisse, and Mr. Horn, I said congratulations to him. I'm glad it was so easy for you to make that decision. The reason why I wanted 7373 pulled was just to ask the question regarding the contract, knowing that the original contractor went bankrupt, and now there is a significant increase in the contract amount. I'm wondering if the parish knew that was happening, or whether or not somebody has reviewed that, and I'd love to see a copy of that to see what the increases were, because they were significant. So I guess I'll have to public records request that? Yeah? Darn, I just saw it today. Okay, I'll ask tomorrow, just so I can take a look at it. And I'm wondering, just because Ms. Tanner had this issue with the other road, the major road, that if there is a conclusion, if there is a stipulated completion date for this particular contract, now that it's been let to a new contractor, and whether or not there are liquidated damages for if they blow past that completion date. Those are important items. And if they have liability insurance for if there's other damages to other roads in the course of their construction, because you had that problem on roads near you. So just some things to think about, and I'm hoping those would be looked at before you adopted this fully. Thank you.
And just to clarify, this is just the ordinance for introduction. It's not being adopted tonight, but I know there has been a claim made on the bond relating to the first person, so it's probably in litigation right now on some of those questions, but there is a bond that's being
That's what
sought
the
after.
explanation in the agenda said, that the surety company was picking up the difference. It's just such a big difference between the original contract and this one. It's $2 million. So I would just like to see that some of the errors perhaps in the state contract that Ms. Tanner brought up last time, that those be looked at or included if there's time to do that, to make sure there's a completion date on there and liquidated damages, because contractors, they'll meet your deadline if you give them a deadline and you impose a penalty if they blow past it. So I think it's important, since the first contract went defunct, and no fault of the parish, it's just the contractor went under.
There should be, because we ran into that problem before where our liquidated damages were less than the state's liquidated damages. So you can imagine when the contractor got behind, which project he was working on and which one he wasn't. So I hope that that's been taken care of in his uniform. But
It happens.
Mr. Canulet?
Yeah, so thanks, Ms. Stevens, for bringing that up. So my question is, do the company that just bellied up on us, do they have any other active contracts with us right now as we speak? And are we going to put them on the list of not very good contractors? This is for the administration.
They have no contracts open with us at this time. They had other contracts in Jefferson Parish as well. and I do not think they will be in a position to bid on any other projects.
We still have a list, though.
So are they going to be put on
Oh, we
our
cer-
bid
we-
list by purchasing?
Will they be put,
There should be a list of
yeah.
vendors that are cannot apply for these jobs after this kind of thing. I'm asking if that's going to happen.
this company will not be bidding on any other jobs. They will not have any consideration from St. Tammany Parish
Okay.
for any future jobs.
Thank you.
Thank you. So can I get a motion and second to introduce? Moved by Mr. Candylat, second by Mr. Lorino. All right. So now we go to number 20, ordinance calendar number 7377. Ordinance to impose a 6-month moratorium on receipt of subdivisions by the Parish Planning and Zoning Commission for the placement of mobile home overlay or re-subdivision or rezoning of property and/or issuance of permits by the Parish Department of Planning and Development permits for the construction or placement of any mobile home in the Howard O'Barry area in District 6, all is more particularly described herein and on the attached map. Councilwoman Tanner? Sorry.
Yes. Do you have someone to speak on that?
I do have 2 cards on that, if you'd like them to go first.
Well, what I intend to do is, let me see if I can get this right, amend this ordinance to include not only Howard O'Barry, but there is a bigger piece of land in this area that are properties that are all zoned A4. I think that, and I've talked to Mr. Liner, that we need to do a study on this. Most of the people in this area would like it a A2, so I would like to change to broaden the area of, instead of just a Howard O'Barry Road. Mr. Liner, would you like to address that or explain it better than me? And this is only for introduction.
Yeah,
with
no,
amendment.
I think you did fine. I think just the area we had limited, we need to expand it a little bit. And then the question is also, are replacements okay? So if someone has one on their property now, can they replace it, or is that, barred as well?
I would say they can replace it. I guess what I'm striving for is if there's a A4 there, is there a way that we can, and I know this is for introduction only, if we can say, okay, if you're going to A2, that's fine. If you're going above A2, then put a moratorium on that.
Yeah, I mean, it depends what the existing zoning is on a particular piece of
Right.
property at that time. So if the intent is to limit new and more, then I think
Right.
this will cover it by expanding the geographical boundaries a little bit as you'd like to. But I think it would also, right now, the way it's written, prevent someone from just swapping it out. However, you do have the opportunity to remove that property as part of a resolution to
Right.
be able to let them
Right,
change
if they
that.
want to swap out a
So,
trailer,
In general, I think it's probably fine, but we just
Right.
have to adjust the geographical
Right.
area slightly.
right, and since this area will be Mr. Smith's area, I have talked to him about it. Do you have any questions on what I'm,
Got a mobile home overlay right now, right?
Yes.
yes.
Okay, so the intent of the study is,
To see if that's, the zoning itself being A4, is that, appropriate for the area? And then the MHO overlay, if that's appropriate as well. So again, this probably hasn't been looked at, obviously, since around 2009 as a whole, when the comprehensive rezoning took place. So it's been, approaching 14, 15 years since it was probably studied. So it's probably a good idea to revisit, this area just to see what's going on.
is anything that sparked it in particular, or?
That would you have to ask the council person.
Why it's okay, the moratorium's necessary, and Mr. Liner is familiar with this. We had mobile homes that were going in, and when I talked to Mr. Liner about sending code enforcement out, he said, well, we have a problem. We're not really sure which ones are permitted and what is code enforcement need to look at and what are really illegal. So we were trying to stop the A4 until we could get this in hand, because to me, when you start putting 4 trailers on an acre, that kind of becomes a mobile home park, where it's stated or not. And the neighbors I know on this road has no problem with going to an A2, and then we can see in the existing areas. But I don't want to hurt the people.
Right.
Okay, I like if they can replace a trailer, if it's an A2, if there's one there, and they can put another one, but I don't want to bring in number 3 and number 4.
Right, and you always have the opportunity to remove it by resolution, if I'm not mistaken. So I think we're pretty clear on the replacement if someone needs one.
Right, and I think code enforcement is still looking at this to see what.
Yeah, people were coming from the South Shore, dumping trailers out there and just started living in them. It's a remote area, so things like this start happening until the neighbors start reporting them to us, and then we start addressing it. So this is, one of the reasons, in fact, that we are looking at this area again.
Okay, and then if there's some kind of special case that you
If there's a
lift it,
special case, we can lift it
Okay.
if there's a problem. But
Right,
what we're
yeah.
trying to do is prevent A3 and A4
Yes.
until we can study it and see what needs to be done in this area.
Excuse me, Chairman, if I may. So if we're going to expand the reach of the moratorium to include additional areas, we're going to need to post the full area again under the 30-day rule.
Do you want to do that? Do you want to enact this one or move forward and then just reintroduce
That's what we're thinking, we're
something a little
talking
bit-
about
yeah.
over here is potentially adopting what you have right now and then.
You don't have to tell me. I'm an accountant. I do numbers. I don't do zoning. So I need some input here.
Why don't we take the 2 comment cards right
Okay.
now, and then we can decide, you can make up your mind whether you just want to move forward with this, and then you
Okay.
can do another one
That's fair
next month
enough.
as well, too.
Okay.
So Janice O'Barry?
Hello. Hi, Janice O'Barry. The road was named after my grandfather. My family's lived on the street for a little over 100 years. There are a lot of mobile homes on the street. I don't know of anybody from the South Shore coming there and dumping mobile homes. I would know that, even though it's a remote area. However, I agree with Ms. Tanner that it needs to be rezoned from A4 to A2. I think 90% of the community would also agree to that. However, the way that this is worded, the ordinance that we're talking about now, the way it's worded, as a real estate agent, the way that I read it, you're not able to subdivide property right now, even if it has nothing to do with the mobile home. You will not, so for instance, I have property at the end of the street listed for sale. It was actively under contract. It was set to be closed on. However, we can't close on it because the gentlemen who are buying it, it's 2 separate 1-acre lots. They've always been 2 separate lots. Each one has 1 house trailer on it. So he's trying to put 2 more house trailers, so it'd be 2 per acre, which would be A2. But the way that it's worded in this ordinance, if they adopt it, then it's gonna be 6 months before we have an answer to even allow people to move in and to be under the A2 zoning. So that's my problem with it, is the fact that it's gonna take them 6 months, and in those 6 months, we're pretty much not allowed to do anything on that street. Is that typical for zoning to go from A4 to A2? They have to go through a study?
I'll let Mr. Liner answer that.
So if the moratorium passes, the councilperson has the right to remove a piece of property from the moratorium by resolution. And somebody correct me if I'm wrong, if that's not correct. So
That's correct.
they wouldn't be subject to 6 months or 8 months or 10 months, whatever it may be. It can be removed at the next council meeting by resolution. You can't just change zoning on a property. You have to do a study. State law requires at least 45 days notice. We did something similar in Chairman Aries' district on Lakeview Drive. That one took us about 6 months. It was about 100 properties. I don't anticipate this one taking that long, but you have to go through the process. It has to go to the zoning commission for review in front of a public hearing. It has to come back to the council for introduction. So it does take a little time, but that doesn't mean everything stops. There are opportunities to replace or remove certain sections from a moratorium that's enacted. So, I'm happy to do what the council pleases, but that's just my 2 cents for right now.
Okay, so,
I have one more.
oh, okay.
All right. Glenn Payne.
Good afternoon, council. My name is Glenn Payne, and I also live on this road down around past there. And I'm also for it being changed from A4 to A2. But if the moratorium doesn't go in just to hold on to this right now so we can look at it, there's nothing that says that somebody can't walk up tomorrow and go to planning or go to zoning and say, I need 3 house trailer permits for this piece of property. And there's nothing you can do about it. We're just trying to hang on. Let's take a look at it. Let's get the wording in place, get the ordinance right, get the zoning right, and then let's do it the right way so we don't have 3 and 4 house trailers on one piece right there. It needs to be A2. Everything else around the area, you go up Highway 41, there's some A3s and some A4s, in different little spots, but for the most part, it's A2. And that's, and that's not crowded up, and it's not, it's not bad looking, and it's a nice place. And that's all we're saying. I'm just trying to say, take a little time, and let's look at it, let's do it the right way. That's it. Thank you.
Ms. Casabon, did you want to speak?
I had a question. Instead of looking at changing the zoning tonight, because we'd have to re-advertise, just do the mobile home overlay? Is that what it's asking for that whole area? So they could not come in and do the mobile home, I'm reading your lips, just do the mobile home overlay for all that area. Then that's what they want to hold on to. They look at it and do the study, and then to see which areas need to be the A2 or, whatever they want the zoning for it. But just put none in for right now until that is studied. And then you can advertise and do right? That's not what we're doing?
Well, I know there's 3 incidents because there's a couple that has a mobile home there now
Right.
and is replacing it.
That's different to me.
Can they replace,
Yeah, we have in my area, if it's one that's been proven that's been there, they take the pictures that they're replacing it due to damage or whatever, old, and they're supposed to be allowed. Where'd he go? He left again. But yes, in my area, to replace it, you have to take pictures, blah, 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 check with the water sewerage is still working, but they still should be able to replace what's there now, or we have in the past.
All right, Mr. Canulet.
Am I correct?
Mr. Canulet, would you like?
Where'd he go?
Yeah, as soon as Ms. Casabon's finished. As soon as Ms. Casabon's finished, I'll go.
Get up here, Ross, I was looking for you. Can they just do a mobile home overlay moratorium on all of this, but it doesn't stop them from replacing a trailer that's there now? The mobile home overlay would be for new trailers, correct?
Well, the mobile home overlay is currently on all of this property as by right.
Right, so.
So they cannot do it?
Can't do what? They can't put more
So it's not
trailers in?
so someone's not coming in looking for a mobile home overlay at this point because it's by right, it's on that property. What we're trying to restrict is how many that's going on each piece of property. So again, the way it's worded, replacement is written. However, if there's an instance that the property needs to be removed for replacement, councilwoman can do it, at a council meeting by resolution. Am I not answering your question?
No, I'm confused.
I think
I'm
you answered it
confused on
right.
what we're doing.
Mr. Canulet?
Yes.
I'll ask Mr. Liner.
So, Ross, just hang on real quick. So, you think we'd learned our lesson with A4 once already, huh? So now here we're talking about A4 and an overlay. And I think all the people have a real concern, they have a right to be concerned when we're talking about going in to this area, putting 4 mobile homes per lot, per acre out there, and instead of 1 trailer park, you might have 15 or 20. that's, if we need a trailer park out there, let the study go ahead and recognize that, and they can put a spot for a mobile home park. But my concern with this is I think this is a real, could be a real problem and a real issue. Is there any way we can stop tonight taking any receipts for wanting to come in tomorrow and say, hey, I want to apply for 4 lots with 4 permits for 4 different trailers? So that's my concern. If we can stop this tonight, give her a chance to get her moratorium in place, then she can take it and say, okay, this is a replacement trailer, Ross. Yeah, okay, it meets the criteria of all the replacement. Yes, you can replace the trailer, but it doesn't allow all these new ones to come in. So my concern tonight would be, what can we do to actually stop taking the receipts so we don't have to deal with this?
And before you answer that, here's my
I'm
question.
not answering that question. I'll leave that to the attorneys and council
Well, she's
administrators.
going to have to answer, yeah.
Okay, here's my question. I have 2 acres that they want to put another trailer each on it, and then I know I have 1 that they're replacing. Can those 3 be excluded from this and then put it on?
Well, so let me ask this question. Is this currently in force, or is this for introduction, or do you have an emergency moratorium in force?
This is for introduction. At the end, we have the,
Was it?
She currently
The
has an
emergency one
emergency,
at the
but
end of the
she's
agenda.
Let's just say-
extending the emergency.
Let's
so
just
this
say-
one needs to go as is, and maybe the emergency needs to address those 3 pieces of property? Okay. All right,
I think that covers what everybody wants to do here, what we've talked about.
okay,
Right.
all right.
So you're going to move on that to go as it is? Well, say I so move, and then a second. How about that?
Okay. Well, one last question, though. I thought we wanted to include this whole area in this ordinance. We want to include,
We can do that. We can do
Yes.
that later. We need to do, you have to do this one. as it's
okay,
written.
all right. Can I amend this one to do that?
Yes, then it would have to be,
It's still going to overlay because it's going to be the one for introduction. If we change it now, it'll come back with a new advertisement and writing on it, correct?
yeah.
After 30 days.
If you expand it,
Right, we're expanding this one, amending this one, and it'll come back.
it'll post for 30 days, then it'll have to be introduced.
Okay,
So if you introduce this now, you could come back, we could post it for 30 days, you could amend it after the 30 days, if that makes sense. But this one, the way it is right now,
Go
the
with this
area
one
that's in it
for
right now
introduction.
would be moving forward.
okay,
That
I'll
makes
do
sense.
that.
All right. So we have a motion to
Okay.
introduce as drafted. Do we have a second on that? Mr. Canulet? All right. I'm sorry, Mr. Davis, did you have any more?
Oh, I'm sorry.
I don't think we didn't start your clock on time either, but, I think it was, you probably had more than that.
Okay,
But
so-
if you want another minute, I'll give you another minute.
Thank you. So the way that y'all are saying we're going now with this, in the next 30 days, if someone wanted to put 2 mobile homes on a 1-acre lot, which would be A2, would they be allowed to do it?
That's coming up later in the emergency. We'll address that in the other ordinance that's at the bottom.
So what will happen for the next 30 days? There's no way they would get to do that, or they would?
As long as it's in the area that's described in the emergency moratorium, they would not be allowed to do it.
But I'm going to amend that for those 3 pieces.
And we're going to amend that potentially to enlarge it when we get to it in the agenda.
So
To
how long
enlarge the area.
before, so in the next 30 days, my buyers, they would not be able to move mobile homes in there, or they would?
They could come in and get a resolution, with a resolution, the councilwoman could.
How long will
to
it take for them
lift
to get a resolution?
It takes, you have to get on the next agenda to get a resolution passed.
Wow. Okay.
Okay.
We had a motion and a second.
This one, and then we'll talk about the other.
Okay.
Did you want to say something, Mr. Davis? Okay.
let's try to make this simple. What's the underlying zoning for this area we're talking about, period?
A4.
A4, all of it
MHO.
has a MHO on it?
Yes.
Okay, so right now, we can't change the MHO on this.
Correct.
It has to go back to planning and zoning, get their
Correct.
requirements for it, and then
Correct.
come back to us.
Yep.
Is that correct?
Yep.
So is the mission to go ahead and try to get this whole area not to put any mobile homes on it?
No.
Is that the mission?
No, the
Okay.
mission is to do from A4 to A2. So
For
you
one
have-
specific,
have two-
okay, but we can't change the zoning now
No,
before it goes to the planning and zoning.
no. That's what he's telling me,
Okay.
correct?
Are we trying to identify a certain area or
It's a
just?
geographical area, yeah, it's a certain area.
So it's a certain area within this MHO. Wouldn't that be the same thing as, wouldn't that be the same thing as spot zoning, but in reverse?
Well, that's why we're doing a study and going to the zoning commission.
Okay, it just seems like an awful lot of trouble to me. Thank you.
I think we did a great job over on Lakeview Drive, and I think it can be the same outcome.
Yeah, no, it worked for that, because this is just allowing the time to have that happen.
Correct.
Because it's not going to make much sense if in the 6 months it takes to get the study, conditions only change while you're trying to do the study, then you've just wasted all the time doing the study in the first place. So this is trying to stop that from happening.
Correct. And then also too, let's, remind everybody, you have to get permits to bring structures or build structures. So, that takes time as well. So make sure that everyone applies for permits, and that'll take care of some time too.
So we had a motion and a second. See anybody was in the queue, please vote. Oh, we don't even need to vote. We had a motion second. All right, we're good. There were two other cards, but we've already actually voted on those items, so there's nothing to comment on now.
Let me say, this is only for introduction.
Yeah. All right, so that's the end of the, oh, I'm sorry, was there one more item on the consent? No, no, I had number 24. Ordinance counter number 7381, ordinance to amend St. Tammany Parish Code of Ordinance Part 2 Land Development Code, Chapter 125, Subdivision Regulations, Article 4, Standard of Design, Section 125-92, green space requirements to add a 50-foot no-cut roadway buffer and tree preservation requirements for all major subdivisions. Councilman Smith, I think this needs to be referred to Planning Commission.
Yes.
All right.
Any cards?
There's no cards.
Okay, so,
So motion to refer?
well,
Oh, you want to comment first?
okay, yeah. This is kind of a work in progress, but I do want to introduce. So this was sparked by a subdivision that clear cut in my area, even though they said they weren't going to at first. They did it anyway. And then I found out that our ordinance is you have to, if you're commercial property, you've got to put a tree plant in. And if you're 3 to 5 acres, you got to put a tree plant in. But subdivision under certain circumstances can clear cut. So, or it's a gray area that we're not really sure about. So we need to have some sort of ordinance that's sure, that we know states that they can't clear cut. This will include 2 species of trees, cypress trees and live oaks. Okay, people have raised some concerns. I want to walk a line that protects the constituents, but also doesn't hurt the local developers. So there are probably some things that are going to have to be rearranged in it or changed, but not the trees. I was told to wait and work it out in Simple Solutions Committee. That committee folded. UDC was going to work it out, and that was a year and a half ago, still waiting on UDC. So I think the time's come to go ahead and put it in and start working on it. And if UDC wants to incorporate it, or if they want to bring their tree preservation ideas forward, I would welcome them doing that, but not 6 months from now. We've already waited and waited and waited. So I want to go ahead and put this in. It's just being introduced today. There's still going to be some work done on it, I'm sure. But yeah, I want to go ahead and refer it at this time.
All right, we have a motion to refer to the Planning Commission. I have a second on that. Mr. Laughlin, no more comments, please vote.
The motion is unanimous with no one absent.
No, they took that off. He didn't want to pull it. Okay. That was to introduce and refer, correct? Where's the, yeah, where's the language I'm supposed to read in 10 minutes? It's not on here. All right, so moving on next to appeals, you'll have, each side will have 10 minutes, and then there'll be 3 minutes for rebuttal. So appeal number 1, Gerald Collins, Jerry Swenson, Peter Hebert et al., 43 total, appealing the Planning Commission approval with waivers at the June 13, 2023 meeting for minor subdivision of parcel 3 into parcels 3A, 3B, 3C, 3D, and 3E on property located on the south side of Stein Road, west of Clarence Road, Sun, Louisiana, Ward 5, District 6. So we have, so Mr. Swenson. So you all will have 10 minutes, so I hope you divided it up among yourselves.
Well, according to your reading here, we can request more time if the council has any discussion on the matter, so we would like to go ahead and request that additional time. I just have a couple of questions that weren't answered at the last meeting that in reference to drainage in the area. The question was asked if there was any drainage studies done on this particular area before a decision was made to allow this subdivision. And the other question was if there was any wetland designations in this area. There was, were any wetlands designated in this area before the subdivision and the reparceling was approved. Now, the original meeting was scheduled for August 3rd, and it was canceled till September the 7th because the parties that owned the property were out of town. And Ms. Tanner said that she was in the process of studying the requirements of parcel sizes in a rural area in St. Tammany Parish at that time. And I was wondering if you'd come up with any anything on those reparceling. Okay. Well, just a few notes that that were covered the last time, that there has not been a drainage upgrade in this area since I moved there in 1963. There's only been 2 minor structures replaced as a result of Katrina, and that was the old bridge on Kings Road and a couple of culverts on Kings Road. Other than that, no drainage upgrade has been done in this area. And we have a problem with drainage there now as it is, and we just think this is going to exacerbate the situation unless there is some drainage improvements done. And we asked last time if there had been any drainage studies done, and we never received an answer on that. Also, Stein Road has been designated several years ago as a substandard road, and we have it's a dangerous situation with traffic on that road. We have no enforcement from St. Tammany Parish Sheriff's Office on that road. We have asked them several times to position patrolmen out there and issue some citations so that the speed limit will be noted, and know that it will be enforced. We've asked for them to put up the little mobile speed limit signs so that the people could see it. And we have a lot of people coming from St. Tammany Parish as a cut-through on that road to avoid going down 1074 and 1073. So traffic is a major concern. We have no problem, we have no quarrels with having new neighbors. We're a rural community, and we're all neighbors, and we welcome people in the community. But we're just opposed to a subdivision that's going to overload our resources. We've already been downgraded in our fire situation. We're kind of, our water system is adequate for the residents that we've had there. And we just don't feel, we feel that it's going to overload the resources of our little community. You know, and if I could have some questions on the drainage studies and the wetlands, you know, and if there is any wetlands on these parcels of properties, has that property been mitigated? Thank you for your time.
Brian Blackwell.
Thank you. I'm Brian Blackwell. I'm a lifelong resident of the Village of Sun. I've been living on that road my whole life he's talking about. We do have problems. We have 3 school bus drivers that live down that road. We have a drainage problem. You can't see the road when the road's flooded. I've talked to Miss Cheryl about that. She's already going to take care of that. But the width of the road is 16 feet, and the width of a school bus is 8.5 feet without the mirrors. 2 school buses can't even pass on that road. And just like the gentleman said, when he led the prayer, he said, keep everybody safe, keep every family safe, and we're worried about the school kids most of all. But there's a lot of other problems. But the main thing I'm here for, other than that, is to straighten out the appeal, the information that the appeal board made. The decision the appeal board made was based on incorrect information. Bill McGee approached him with his 3.3 acre 5 lots on this property that is not in the Village of Sun. He owns 125 acres altogether. 66 of it's in Sun, the other 59 are not. When Mr. Crawford asked him about this 17 acres in question, he said that, is this all that's in St. Tammany? Does everything else fall underneath the 5-acre moratorium that we have in Sun? And he said, yes, that was incorrect. He has 59 acres outside of the village. So when they voted, Mrs. McGinnis said that she looked on the assessor's parcel map, and she said that she don't see a problem with it. And a few other people commented. Then Mr. Crawford asked, when he asked Bill about the 17 acres, Mr. Smale chimed in and he said, okay, he appreciates the larger lots because it's zoned for A2, which is 1 house per acre. Our moratorium says 1 house per 5 acres because there's a lot of land down there, a new highway coming, and developers are headed that way. These aren't the only 2 guys that are coming. We're just trying to protect our village and do the best we can for the children that's going to come in behind us because we're not going to be here forever. Mr. Smale told him he appreciated the larger upgrade from the 1 acre lots. And he said, when he said that was the only 17 that wasn't in the village, they did the math and they come up with 110 left, which is actually 108. He said that's only 22, 25 houses, which is what we're asking for. That's what everybody out there is fine with, 25 houses, because if our moratorium stretched all the way across 125 acres, it would be 25 houses. On average, two cars per household, not to mention the toys and everything else that's going to increase the traffic. Okay, but it was based on incorrect information because there's another 41 acres left on that property outside the village that's still zoned for A2, which is 1 house per 1 acre. So that leaves him room to make 41 more houses out there. Because based on our moratorium, when they first bought this property, they came to us and said there's going to be 3 families spread out across 125 acres. So we had no problem with that. Everybody was extremely happy on the road. There's going to be 3 families. They're not going to develop it. And the first thing they walk in was 24 houses on 24 acres. We said no because of our moratorium. Then they showed us 33 houses on 36 acres. We said no, that's because of our moratorium. Now, the council thought they were doing right when they said only 25, 27 houses isn't going to be a big impact. But they didn't realize they were leaving 41 acres zone for A2 on the table. So the information was incorrect. So if you want to make a ruling on this appeal, that's fine. If you want to table it until y'all make sure y'all got the correct information, which I just gave y'all, that's fine too. Did I confuse anybody? Because I'm trying to talk fast because I'm out of time. Y'all understand what's going on here? Okay, so all I'm asking for is, as far as the appeal goes, to make sure you'll have the right information now. So, and back to the road, let's see. when that road floods, you can't see the road. Our school bus drivers are familiar with the road. They know where to go, but they've conditioned themselves to stop. And that's not the way it is, because I know y'all drive around here. If you count on common courtesy, you can hang it up. So they take it upon themselves just to stop. These are blind curves, S curves. I got pictures right here if y'all need it. But anyway, all I'm asking of y'all is to expand our moratorium to the contiguous areas, because if the Village of Sun, 59 acres outside the village, only 66 is in the village. That's 13 houses. What they've proposed to us so far is 50-something houses. If you give them the 13 houses that our 66 acres in Sun allows, and you give them the 5 that this new deal with the property that's not in the Village of Sun, that's 18 houses. You leave them 41 acres on the table, zone for A2, that is another 41 houses. Now we're back up to 50-something houses. They voted that 25 and 27 was correct, and everybody here would be perfectly fine with 25. But if y'all would just expand our moratorium to the contiguous areas to help us please protect our Village of Sun for the people that's coming up behind us, it would be greatly appreciated. So I'm about out of time, and I think that's about it. So I hope I didn't confuse anybody. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Policeman applause. And we had one other card from David Wilson, concerned about how it will affect drainage in an area that already has poor drainage, did not wish to speak. Is the appellee here?
Good evening. I got 10 minutes. Is
Yes,
that
sir.
what said? Okay. First of all, I want you to understand what this is about, because it sounded to me like Mr. Blackwell's trying to confuse the issues that are before this board. We have a 16-acre tract that we've asked for a minor subdivision administrative permit for. The property is zoned A2 residential in the parish. This doesn't have anything to do with the Village of Sun. This is in St. Tammany Parish. And on that point, too, I want you to know this. The Village of Sun was offered the opportunity to be involved in our development back when we first bought the property. We wanted to have them annex the 55-acre tract that was outside the village limits into the Village of Sun, and for doing that, we were going to give them the opportunity to participate in the development plan of the property. They refused. They says, we're not interested in annexing, it'll set a precedent. That's what they told us. And so, okay, we're left with the option of dealing with the Village of Sun on the property that's in the village, and we have to deal with the parish on this piece of property that's before you tonight on the appeal. I don't think Mr. Blackwell got that correct about the 55 acres. There was never any question. We had a plat that showed the entire 55 acres. The parish has that plat. When we met with Ms. Helen, she knew that it was the entire tract out there. But we only wanted 16 acres to do the 3.3 acre home sites, which the Planning Commission felt as though that was a great deal for them, because it's going in the opposite direction of density. We have a right to build on 1 acre on this property if we chose. We chose to go with 3.3 acres instead of the 1 acre, because that was the most we could get for an administrative permit. So the road situation that they're talking about, that's in the Village of Sun. We're talking about Stein Road in the parish. That road is, I mean, I've driven the road many times. Admittedly, I don't have the same experience that they do, but the road's a public road and it's paved. And so this more or less is a, be careful what you ask for, but really an example of no good deed goes unpunished. We followed the rules of the parish to the T. We met with Helen Lambert, and she told us what we needed to do. We submitted it to the administrative staff. They told us we had to make corrections to the plat. We did that. The only reason we're here is because there's only one lot that fronts on Stein Road. Because we're doing a private road, which we agreed to maintain, because we're doing that, we had to come before a public hearing. Well, the Planning Commission, who you've appointed to review these types of procedures, overwhelmingly approved the re-subdivision. And their statement that they made about that was that the fact that we were not increasing the density, we weren't asking for a reduction from 5 acres to 3 acres, we were asking for an increase in the size of the lots. Even though we're entitled to 1, we asked for 3.3. So I don't see anything in there was nothing in the regulations that talked about drainage. This property is property that is high. It used to be a pasture. It drains to the southwest and to the south, away from Stein Road. And so we were never told we had to do any kind of drainage study for the minor subdivision. As far as the flooding, that's in the Village of Sun. That doesn't affect us, and that's not having any effect on the Village of Sun. It's all going away from the village. So I don't think that there's anything else I need to say. I guess we have a rebuttal period. Okay. I will. Well, let me go through my notes. The same drainage was inadequate, was what they said at the Planning Commission meeting. The roadway was inadequate. I think the roadway is fine where we are. Going to Village of Sun, there is an S-curve, but that's totally within the Village of Sun. And let's see, lower density. In the regulations that apply to the minor subdivision, the engineering department apparently was consulted. They had no problem with the drainage. They didn't address anything to us as to what we needed to do. And the roadway, I mean, that was not something that was supposed to be considered with the minor subdivision review and approval. And so none of the objections that they bring have anything to do with the regulations that apply to minor subdivisions. So I think that all you need to consider is that this is a minor subdivision of 5 lots, 3.3 acres in size, in an A2 zone property, which only requires a minimum of 1 acre. So it's an improvement for the density. We fully complied with the requirements of the parish ordinance for minor subdivision administrative review. The body charged with reviewing those, the request approved it overwhelmingly. There simply is no reason for overturning that approval, and we ask that you deny the appeal and let the decision of the Planning Commission stand. I'll reserve the 3 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Blackwell or Mr. Swenson. I don't know who wants to take the 3-minute rebuttal.
Yes, sir, thank you. Like I said in the beginning, this was supposed to be 3 families spread out across 125 acres. So, and when he come to us to annex it, he didn't say anything about a development. That wasn't even brought up. I don't see the point. We didn't annex it because we didn't want to set a precedent and have to annex everybody else to be consistent. I don't see the point of annexing something if you're going to live on it, because I grew up there. It's on that road. I live on my whole life. I thought it was in the village until I become a councilman. But what I was asking for is our moratorium to be expanded across that 59 acres that's not in the village that he said was only 17 at the last Planning Commission meeting. The vote came out to 20, when they did the math, it come out to 25, 27 houses. I told you everyone would be completely happy with 25 houses across there. I don't see what the big deal is. So he can say he's complained that we haven't worked with him. We gave them everything they wanted when they come up to us first. They said they wanted to purchase the property, and 59 acres wasn't in the village, and we okayed it because they were supposed to be living out there. So I really don't think he has a valid argument, to be honest with you, because the only thing we haven't done for him is give him these 50 houses, because it looks, he's trying to put 5 houses in the middle of a 59-acre field, and this doesn't look like a gentleman that's going to put 5 acres in a 59-acre field and just stop. Okay? So I'm asking you to go through with the appeal and, like I said, or at least table it till you can make sure you got the right information. Now, I've got everything to back me up from all the meetings. We got all the tapes at the Village of Sun from every meeting that they've been to. So, I really don't think that, he has a valid argument, to be honest with you. Thank you.
Mr. Swenson?
In regards to the engineering on the drainage, was that engineering done by the parish, or was it done by his firm that engineered the property?
That would be a question for Mr. Liner. I do not know.
Was it done by the parish?
So we can address that after your comment period, if you want to just, if
Okay,
there's
you're
any
gonna
other
answer
thing.
all the questions about
We can ask
the
questions about
drainage
that.
and the
Just let's have
wetlands?
your comments, we'll have the rebuttal, and then we can ask, the
Okay.
council members can
Gonna
ask
answer all the
questions.
questions about the drainage and the engineering and all of that, the mitigation, the wetlands, and the ordinances on the rural property. Thank you.
All right. Did you put a card in to speak, sir?
No, sir.
Are you in favor of the appeal? Well, we have to, who are you here? What side are you on?
My name's Dick Ella, I own all the property around the subdivision. And he's saying it's southwest of drainage, and that's through my property, so I'm not getting conditional. Something on the property.
Okay. Sir, if you want to fill out a card real quick, and while you're up there, or fill it out afterward, I'll let you have the last bit of time. Just speak, and then we'll put the card in afterward, okay? What's your name, sir?
My name is Tate Gallo. I own all the property around the subdivision that's going to be on the north side of Stein Road. I've been a cop for 30 years, and I can tell you from experience that that road, both in Sun and in St. Tammany, floods because I own a good bit. And I also own property that he's saying on north, south, west side. And nobody asked me permission to put a drainage line through my property. So I'm not in favor of that at all.
All right, thank you, sir. Just fill out a card for our records, please. Mr. McGee, you have 3 minutes, or, well, plus I guess whatever time you had left before.
I don't know who this last gentleman is, but we own property on the east and the west side of this 16-acre tract. And I know the people that own it on the south, and he's not one of them. I don't know where he owns property, but he doesn't own on the south or the east or the west of this 16-acre tract. So I guess what I'm saying is this is the parish of St. Tammany. This is not the village of Sun. Sun, unfortunately, doesn't have any land use planning like St. Tammany does. Completely devoid, nothing. So we've got to deal with them on that issue separately. We're dealing with St. Tammany based on the provisions that you've established for minor subdivision approval, which is what this is. 5 lots on 16 acres is a minor subdivision. The drainage is not part of it unless engineering chose to make it a part of it, and they didn't say anything to us about drainage. Traffic is not addressed in the minor subdivision review process, and if they would have asked us about that, we would have done that too. So we simply are trying to do a minor subdivision, which is permitted. We've complied in every way with the procedure outlined by the parish to accomplish this. We did everything we were supposed to do. We came to planning and zoning. They approved it with 1 negative vote, and the majority of them, having the correct information, unlike what Mr. Blackwell said, decided that this was a good thing because most of the time people are coming in to try to get smaller lots to build on. So we don't think there's any grounds for granting the appeal, and So we'd ask that you vote accordingly. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Tanner, would you like to go now? There's no other speakers.
If I could I have Mr. Wynn, I think he represents the Village of Sun, to answer some questions? I hate to put you on the spot.
That's fine. Vincent Wynn, actually, I am the counsel for the Village of Sun.
Okay.
Do you have any questions of me?
I have a question. I think Mr. Blackwell kept saying about a moratorium or whatever. Will you tell us what you did in Sun?
So for the record, about a year ago or a little bit more, there was some concerns about developers coming into the area. As Mr. McGee mentioned, there are no land use ordinances. We only have, y'all gonna die, 68 ordinances in the entire village. So one of my jobs was to fix that, and I'm working on fixing that as we speak. It just takes time. And so out of abundance of caution, we passed a moratorium in the village that limited the subdivision of properties to 5 acres, meaning one house on 5 acres. Because as everyone knows, we have a major thoroughfare coming through that area. There are a lot of interest in this area. It's undeveloped. People know we did not have any ordinances on the books. And so we were very concerned about what that meant. And so to protect the community, we thought it was in everybody's best interest to give us a chance to put this moratorium in and then let us work on our ordinances. And so we've been diligently doing that. We didn't have a website, guys, until 5 months ago. And so you can understand it's sleepy sun. There's nothing up there. Well, guess what? There's about to be stuff up there. And so we're concerned about it. And so they've asked me to help. It's taken some time. We finally got Municode. We actually have it now. We have a contract with them. So we'll be online, hopefully, with that in the next couple of months. So, and so far as the Village of Sun, that's what we did. Now, obviously, the parish decides what it wants to do, but understand this property is contiguous with the Village of Sun. There was a request to annex, and as you can probably imagine as to why. There are no rules in Sun, and so I think that was one of the reasons the council persons were a little concerned about annexing in at that time. And that's the truth. That was in the meeting. That was discussed. Any other questions?
Not at this time. Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you.
There's,
Oh, okay. Ross, or maybe Danielle, I'm not sure. There was a question on the drainage. Who did the drainage study? Was there a drainage study required? Help me out with
No,
that.
ma'am, a drainage study is not required for a minor subdivision.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
So, and I guess this one was granted with waivers. So usually if they would do the drive in, they would have to provide an engineered plan for that, which we would review to make sure it's not causing a drainage obstruction, regular parts of it. But this was given a waiver to not do that as initial. It's done with the permitting phase. So any drainage for these lots would be submitted as a part of the permit.
Okay. Thank you. You want to take?
Ms. Casabon?
I just have some concerns because this is happening in my area too, where we're running into, in some of my areas in Tangipahoa and where our line is, and we are addressing the size of our lots and our drainage and everything, but it's not coinciding with what Tangipahoa Parish and some of Washington Parish is doing. I think this is a special area in which, and I would like it, I know the Slidell Inn, we have the river, and so before we get to the state lines and parish lines. But I know this area very well, and it is beginning to take off with people moving out. Now we have the interstate, that's going to be expanded. I have concerns on the size. I was just looking through to see if I remember where Stein Road was. And there's 2 plots, 61 acres on Stein Road, listed with Caldwell. There's 43 acres of land and farmland listed with somebody else. That this land, I think we need to look at the sizes, whether it's in the moratorium or part of the Sun area, that we need to look at how we develop this part. This is, to me, an area that needs to be checked and put some study into before we start doing the minor subdivisions, because in my area, they do the minor subdivision, but then they come back and do another minor subdivision, and they might be putting roads in, but they're not put to parish standards, and then they keep adding to that road to where you have a lot of people on a substandard road, and then eventually they want us to take them in. Because of this area, like I said, being so close to Washington Parish, which our requirements are a little bit stronger than them. I know there's a lot of 1 acre areas. I would just like to see some study done on this and maybe just tabled until some research can be done. That's my opinion of it, because I've seen it happen when we're that close to another parish line that some of that land might be in the rest of this 41 or 63 or whatever, even though this is just a minor subdivision of so many acres. I would be concerned. I would want to know how many more acres is attached to this property that is not in our parish. Okay.
Mr. Davis?
Yeah, I have a question for Daniel.
Yes, sir.
After going over the first Planning and Zoning Commission comments and stuff like this 16.57 acres is in flood zone AE, and it is in a critical drainage area,
Yes, sir.
correct?
Yes, sir.
And so we have no concern about flooding?
Well, it's a critical drainage area, so we do have concern
Okay,
about
well,
flooding
that's what I'm saying. I
in
mean,
the
I can
area,
understand
yes.
that people's concern about flooding when they're in a critical drainage area.
Yes, it's just the way our ordinances work, when they come in for a minor, they're not submitting lot grading plans as part
Sure.
of a minor subdivision, or, what fill will be placed as part of a minor subdivision. That would come at the permitting phase.
Right. And when critical drainage areas, you can't put fill.
Yes, there's no net fill in critical drainage
Correct.
areas.
Okay, thank you. I was just concerned about that. Thank you.
Mr. Canulette?
Yeah, thank you. So, being the old man up here, Sun has been around for a very long time. And when you look at the growth of the parish the last 24 years, you look at Pearl River, you look at Slidell, you look at Covington, hell, I still remember when Mandeville had mostly dirt roads, and they were all on the lake by beach shacks. We've come a long way, but I think one thing that the parish council and the administration, I think we both miss this. We have hidden gems in this parish. Folsom is a hidden gem. We've done a lot to protect Folsom, the integrity of Folsom, the town itself, protecting the town from the parish, because it's, it's just basically surrounded, and we could do basically whatever we want to Folsom almost, except for that little bitty piece. Sun is kind of the same way. It's been out there forever. You used to go out there to the locks. Whether you hate it or whether you like it, it's a place that deserves to keep its integrity and keep what it has been for as long as my family has been in this parish, which is a very long time. And we should be working with the Village of Sun to help protect them. Because I listened, and one comment was made like, well, I offered the Village of Sun the opportunity to come in and take this land. Well, their resources are stretched anyway. If Sun needs to take in something, it's going to be something that really generates money. Not a subdivision. It's going to cost them money. So I think the one thing that we don't want to overlook is the place of Sun in the parish. It has been here a long time. It needs to stay like a sun, like it is. Is it the perfect little town? Absolutely not. It's just not. Nothing's perfect. But Sun is there. They've done well. They've succeeded. We need to help them and make sure they succeed. Because I'm going to tell you, if Sun doesn't succeed and Sun fails, the new council is going to have to help pay for Sun. So I don't know if you want to take in any more. We have enough problems with money, just the parish. I don't believe we want to be overwhelming cities in helping them because we bankrupted them or we hurt them. So that's what I got to say on that.
Ms. Tanner?
Thank you. Thank you. I've always said that zoning, as I have learned since I was on this council, is one of the hardest things to do, planning and zoning. You cannot make everyone happy. It doesn't matter how you do it, someone is not going to be happy. I was born and raised in Bush. I'm a country girl. Everybody knows that. I have acreage. I was fortunate. And I like that. My concern is not the 5 lots at 3.3 acres. It's the 120 acres, whether it's in the parish or in Sun. What is the plan for developing the rest of this land? You know, if we do this, are we going to see another 16 acres come back for the same thing? I like 5-acre lots. We can always have it. But I think with Sun, with the land up there, I think that's something that we should shoot for. The other thing that I have a problem with is I have been on that road numerous times, okay? It is not the most ideal road. I don't care where, and it's complicated. The first part of it's in the Village of Sun, the middle is in St. Tammany, and then it goes to Washington Parish. But it is not the ideal road, and as was stated, I think from Mr. Blackwell, that the buses have to pull over. I'm worried about the density and the people's safety on this road and having this kind of development because I don't know what's going to happen with the rest of the acreage. Therefore, I'm going to ask my fellow councilmen to join me in overriding the planning approval.
This motion and a second by Mr. Davis. This requires a 2/3 vote of the council. Any more comment? Please vote.
Yes to override.
The motion is unanimous with no one absent.
All right. Number 2. Oh, we need a resolution. We need a resolution. Moved by Ms. Tanner, second by Mr. Canulette.
Need a vote.
And we need to vote on that. Yep.
Ms. Delorino, Ms. Casabon. The motion is unanimous with no one absent.
All right, number 2, Leanne Jenkins appealing the zoning commission denial on August 1st, 2023 to rezone 1.29 acres located on the west side of LA Highway 437 east of Houlihan Road, Covington, from A1 Suburban District to A1 Suburban District and MHO Manufactured Housing Overlay, Ward 3, District 2. So I don't have any cards in here. If you want to speak for or against this, could we please quiet down? I don't have any cards on this, but I guess Ms. Jenkins, are you here? Show up. Or
Hi, how are y'all?
good.
Okay.
You have
So-
10 minutes.
I just want to appeal what the zoning was to put a mobile home for my aunt, elderly aunt. I purchased the land to put one mobile home for her. And during the zoning and commission, it was stated that there was no other mobile homes on the road, which is not accurate. There's multiple mobile homes
Is there anything else that you have to add to your,
No. No.
okay? Is there anyone else that wants to speak either, there's no other cards? I guess Mr. Fitzgerald, if you'd like to go ahead, I have no other cards, so.
Yes, examine this thoroughly. And it's a situation where this is at its heart, Ms. Jenkins trying to do a good thing for her aunt. It's on a 1.3 acre lot, heavily wooded. And I believe it's going to be a new manufactured home. Other manufactured homes have been there, and I think has there been one there previously that has been removed at some point in time? Yes. And all things considered, I think that the fact that it's got a great buffer zone around it, the fact that it's not going to be intrusive, the fact that it's going to be a new manufactured home where others are and have been, and the fact that she's helping a family member get settled. I think that it would be the right decision to overturn the Planning and Zoning Commission on this occasion, even though I know as a council we do not often do that. But in this case, it's a particularly special case to me, and so I move that we overturn the Planning and Zoning Commission.
Ms. Caswell, do you have something you want to?
Yeah, just that I'm familiar with the area also, and this would be an appropriate move, and I'll second the motion.
I have a motion, a second. Any other comment? Please vote.
We did.
The motion is unanimous with no one absent. You need an introduction of an ordinance.
We need an ordinance. We so moved by Mr. Fitzgerald, second by, to introduce, second by Ms. Casabon. All right, so we've have the ordinance introduced. All right, now moving on to ordinances for adoption. Previously postponed referred ordinance, ordinance calendar number 7127, ordinance to amend portions of ordinance CS number 12-2707, which established and validated fees for sewage and water services provided by systems owned and operated by the parish. Mr. Bender?
Nope.
Hold on, I'm doing
Got
a lot, I'm doing a lot.
Thank you, Ms. Katrina. Not trying to be impatient. Thank you, Ms. Katrina. So, Mr. Chairman, I would like to make a motion to continue the postponement for additional 3 months. And I would ask for a second.
Second by Mr. Laughlin. But there's no cards that have been put in, so. All right, so seeing no one else in the queue, please vote.
The motion is unanimous with no one absent.
Number 2, ordinance calendar number 7173, ordinance to amend St. Tammany Parish Code of Ordinances, Part 2, Chapter 130, Article 5, Division 6, Planned Corridor District, Sections 130-1809 through 130-1814, to add Military Road, Highway 190, and Slidell as a Planned Corridor District, Ward 8, District 9. Mr. Smith.
I need to amend this one. This was planned in conjunction with an area in Marty's district, and the areas aren't quite alike. So in section 130-1814, I need to add the following. Sub-article 2, I guess. Street planning area requirements for Military Road Planned Corridor. A, the street planning area shall be a minimum of 30 feet in depth. For lots greater than 150 feet in depth, the street planting area shall include 1 additional foot for every 10 feet in depth. B, the street planting area shall contain a minimum of 1 Class A tree per every 600 square feet of the street planting area, and 1 Class B tree per every 400 square feet of the street planting area. C, planting beds near signage and structures are recommended, required. D, grass or ground cover are recommended for areas without trees. Okay, and this would add to the scenic highway designation, so I'd like to offer that amendment.
Motion to amend by Mr. Smith.
Motion to amend.
Second by,
So to be clear, we're talking about amending the language that you read, Mr. Smith, was to amend the original language of 7173, not as amended by, or not with the recommended amendments by the Planning Commission.
That's correct.
Okay, just to be clear, not, so we are amending 7173, not 7173A.
okay, so what we're going to do first is we're going to vote not to accept the amendments of the zoning commission, and then, so once we have that vote, then we'll move forward with voting on the substitute motion. So this is a motion by Mr. Smith, second by Mr. Laughlin, to reject the amendments that the planning commission put forward. So please vote.
Ms. Casabon, Mr. Lorino. The motion is unanimous with no one absent.
Okay.
We're not there yet.
Okay, so now we're going to move to amend it as per your previous motion. So motion by Mr. Smith, second by Mr. Canulette, on the changes to the ordinance. So please vote on that.
Ms. Tanner. The motion is unanimous with no one absent.
Okay, and now we're going to motion to introduce as amended. All right, so a motion by Mr. Smith, second by Mr. Canulette. We don't need to vote on that. So you hit a triple on that one, Mr. Smith. No, we don't have to re-refer. All right. Moving on to development ordinances, number 3, ordinance counter number 7330, ordinance amending the official zoning map to reclassify 0.52 acres of land from its present HC2 Highway Commercial to HC3 Highway Commercial District, Ward 1, District 1. Moved by Mr. Dean, second by Mr. Fitzgerald. Please vote.
The motion is unanimous with no one absent.
Number 4, ordinance counter number 7331, ordinance amending the official zoning map to reclassify 4.0 acres of land from its present A1 suburban district to A2 suburban district, Ward 2, District 3. Ms. Casabon. Moved by Mr. Casabon, second by Mr. Lorino. Please vote.
Ms. Tanner. The motion is unanimous with no one absent.
Number 5, ordinance counter number 7332, ordinance amending the official zoning map to reclassify 0.14 acres of land from its present A4A single-family residential district to an A4A single-family residential district and MHO manufactured housing overlay, Ward 8, District 12. Mr. Bender?
Yes, so moved.
Moved by Mr. Bender, second by Mr. Randolph. Please vote. Please move too. I'm moving.
The motion is unanimous with no one absent.
Number 6, ordinance counter number 7333, ordinance amending the official zoning map to reclassify 3.03 acres of land from its present A1 suburban district to A1A suburban district, Ward 2, District 6.
She's not for this.
Let's see, District 6.
Tanner.
Mr. Tanner.
I make the motion.
Moved by Mr. Tanner, second by Mr. Canulette. Please vote.
Ms. Tanner. The motion is unanimous with no one absent.
Ordinance calendar number 7334, excuse me, ordinance amending the official zoning map to reclassify 0.43 acres of land from its present A4A Single Family Residential District to A4A Single Family Residential District and MHO Housing Overlay, Ward A District 12. There is a card on this one. Mr. Wilkes, Victor Wilkes. Step up to the podium, sir. You'll have 3 minutes.
I talked to Ms. Helen a while back. She said there was a problem with a shed on the line of the survey. I'd just like to put into record that the shed has been taken care of. This is the new survey. There is nothing on the property lines, and we're ready to continue on to the next step.
Thank you, sir. If you just want to hand that to the gentleman there. This is in District 12, Mr. Bender.
Gentlemen, yes, sir. Mr. Wilkes, so you're the property owner that we adopt this tonight. You will be putting the mobile home on.
Off and put a new one on. I will put sewage and everything on it.
Very good. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Make a motion to approve.
Second, motion by Mr. Bender, second by Mr. Davis. Please vote.
Mr. Loughlin. The motion is unanimous with no one absent.
And I'll just note for the record that there are no cards in any of these other ordinances, so. Ordinance calendar number 7335, ordinance amending the official zoning map to reclassify 5.0 acres of land more or less from its present A2 suburban district to an A2 suburban district and MHO manufactured housing overlay, Ward 9, District 9. Mr. Smith? Moved by Mr. Smith, seconded by Mr. Canulette. Please vote.
The motion is unanimous with no one absent.
Ordinance calendar 7336, ordinance amending the official zoning map to reclassify 1.585 acres of land more or less from its present A1A suburban district to A2 suburban district, Ward 2, District 2. Mr. Fitzgerald? Moved by Mr. Fitzgerald, second by Ms. Casabon. Please vote.
Ms. Tanner. The motion is unanimous with no one absent.
Number 10, ordinance calendar number 7337, ordinance to revoke an unopened portion of 10th Avenue in the town of Alexisville subdivision. Mr. Casabon. Moved by Ms. Casabon, second by Mr. Davis. Please vote.
Ms. Casabon. The motion is unanimous with no one absent.
Number 11, ordinance calendar number 7338, ordinance to revoke an unopened portion of Ozone Street in the Vita Springs Terrace subdivision, Ward 4, District 7. Mr. Davis.
Motion to adopt.
Moved by Mr. Davis, second by Mr. Lorino. Please vote.
The motion is unanimous with no one absent.
Moving to finance ordinance, ordinance calendar number 7339, ordinance to amend the 2023 operating budget, amendment number 11. Mr. Lorino. Moved by Mr. Lorino, second by Mr. Toledano. Please vote. Ordinance calendar number.
Motion is unanimous with no one absent.
Number 13, ordinance calendar number 7340, ordinance to amend the 2023 grants budget, amendment number 8. Mr. Lorino. Moved by Mr. Lorino, second by Mr. Toledano. Please vote.
Motion is unanimous with no one absent.
Number 14, ordinance calendar number 7341, ordinance to amend the 2023 operating budget, amendment number 12. Mr. Loughlin. Moved by Mr. Loughlin, second by Mr. Randolph. Please vote.
The motion is unanimous with no one absent.
Number 16, ordinance calendar number 7343, ordinance to amend the 2023 capital improvement budget and capital assets, amendment number 43, parish-wide roads and drainage capital projects. Mr. Bender.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Bender, seconded by Mr. Randolph. Please vote.
The motion is unanimous with no one absent.
Number 17, ordinance calendar number 7344, ordinance amended 2023 capital improvement budget and capital assets, amendment number 44, trace maintenance. Mr. Laughlin? So moved. Mr. Laughlin, second by Mr. Smith. Please vote. Oh, I'm sorry. Did you want to talk on that one?
No, sir, I thought maybe you might have skipped one.
Oh, did I?
Oh, yeah, I think we skipped 15.
All right. Well, we'll do 16, and I'll go back to 15.
That motion
Sorry.
was unanimous with no one absent.
Okay. Number 15, ordinance calendar number 7342, ordinance to amend the 2023 capital improvement budget and capital assets. Amendment number 42, disaster relief capital projects. Mr. Laughlin. So moved. Mr. Laughlin, second by Mr. Davis, Mr. Randolph. Please vote.
The motion is unanimous with no one absent. I don't know what number
Why is it
are we
saying,
on? What number are we on?
we're on 17? Oh, no, I did 17. Okay, so we're on 18. Did we do 16?
I don't know what we did.
We did 16. Mr. Bender did 16. Okay, apologize for that. We are on 18. Number 18, ordinance calendar number 7345, ordinance authorizing the Parish of St. Tammany through the Office of Parish President to acquire parcels of immovable property approved by the Louisiana Watershed Initiative Buyout Program. Somebody Mr. Lorino, moved by Mr. Lorino, second by Mr. Fitzgerald. Please vote.
That motion is unanimous with no one absent.
We didn't do number 16? No, I thought we said we did that one.
Let's just do it again. I thought so too.
All right, I thought we had done that one, but we'll make sure, double sure. Number 17, ordinance calendar number 7344, ordinance to amend the 2023 capital improvement budget and capital assets, amendment number 44, trace maintenance. Mr. Laughlin. So moved. All right, moved. Second by Mr. Smith. Please vote. But if we did it, you don't get double funding, Leslie. So
The motion is
we only did it
unanimous
one
with
time.
no one absent.
All right.
I don't think you skipped one.
All right. So we're at 19 now?
Yes.
Okay, 19. Ordinance calendar number 7346, ordinance authorizing the Parish of St. Tammany through the Office of Parish President to exchange certain parcels for the T.J. Smith Expressway debris site, Ward 8, District 9. Mr. Smith. So moved by Mr. Smith, seconded by Mr. Randolph. Please vote.
The motion is unanimous with no one absent.
Number 20,
That's right. It's glitchy.
oh, okay. All right, it's not just me,
Skip it.
okay.
It's going to what it wants to go to.
Ordinance calendar number 7347, ordinance authorizing the Parish of St. Tammany through the Office of Parish President to acquire certain parcels, rights-of-way, and servitudes for the Rayford Oaks Channel Improvement Project, Ward 1, District 1. Mr. Dean. Moved by Mr. Dean, seconded by Mr. Fitzgerald. Please vote.
Mr. Lorino? The motion is unanimous with no one absent.
All right, number 21, ordinance calendar 7384, ordinance authorizing the Parish of St. Tammany through the Office of Parish President to acquire certain parcels, rights-of-way, and servitudes for the St. John Church Road Bridge Replacement Project, Ward 2, District 3. Ms. Casabon. Moved by Ms. Casabon, second by Mr. Dean. Please vote.
Mr. Fitzgerald? The motion is unanimous with no one absent.
Public Works ordinances, number 22, ordinance calendar number 7349, AAA, or AA, ordinance establishing a no parking zone on Canal Street in Ozone Pine subdivision. Councilman Smith.
Move to postpone for 3 months.
All right, we have a motion to postpone, second by Mr. Canulette. Please vote.
Mr. Laughlin? The motion is unanimous with no one absent.
Number 23, ordinance calendar number 7350, ordinance to correct the road and drainage inventory to include the Ront Road lateral, Ward 9, District 11. Mr. Laughlin? Moved by Mr. Laughlin, second by Ms. O'Brien. Please vote.
Mr. Lorino? The motion is unanimous with no one absent.
Ordinance amending the code, number 24, ordinance calendar number 7351, ordinance to amend St. Tammany Parish Code of Ordinances, Part 2, Article 3, to add 2 alternate members to the St. Tammany Parish Planning and Zoning Commission. Mr. Lorino. Moved by Mr. Lorino, second by Mr. Dean. Please vote.
Mr. Toledano? The motion is unanimous with no one absent.
All right. Then, Mr. Davis, if you are vote to move the tabled ordinance back onto the agenda.
Yes.
That was appointment number 3.
Yeah.
Sorry. Moved by Mr. Davis, second by Mr. Lorino. Please vote. All right,
Motion
so,
is unanimous with no one absent.
yeah. So appointment number 3, resolution to appoint Dexter Cardo as the alternate on the St. Tammany Parish Planning and Zoning Board of Commissioner. Ms. Tanner? Moved by Ms. Tanner, seconded by the whole council. Ms. O'Brien? Please vote.
The motion is unanimous with no one absent.
And then, Ms. Tanner, would you have a motion to suspend so we can appoint? Motion to suspend. Seconded by Mr. Canulette. Please vote.
Mr. Laughlin? The motion is unanimous with no one absent.
Number 25, ordinance calendar number 7353, ordinance to extend for 6 months the moratorium on receipt of submissions by the Parish Planning and Zoning Commission for the re-subdivision or rezoning of certain property and or issuance of certain permits by the Parish Department of Planning and Development, permits for the construction or placement of certain building structures on property in the area bounded by South Military Road, Galls Boulevard, East, Amber Street, Lake Village Boulevard, Cross Gates Boulevard, Highway 1090, East Porter Rivers Road, Porters River, West Pearl River, and Doubloon Branch. Ward 9, District Smith. Mr. Smith, I think you need to give us some reasons for the continuation of this.
Same reasons. Last year, we're waiting on a subdivision to come in. It's got a road plan in a critical area that they have to put in, and I'm working on a roundabout in that area. And until then, I'd like the moratorium on until we see how the traffic issues are resolved. As far as going south on Military towards Gauze and Fremo, some of the same conditions, but more, don't want any more commercial put in or multifamily. While we're still working on the water system, there are things that need to be done in the water system. Some projects on the way, some that need to be done that aren't on the way yet, and a sewage plant that needs to be replaced. So I'm thinking that this is going to take a while.
Thank you. So we have a motion to adopt by Mr. Smith, second by Mr. Laughlin. Any further comment? Please vote.
Mr. Randolph? Mr. Lorino, don't take your vote away. The motion is unanimous with no one absent.
All right, ordinance calendar number 7354, ordinance to extend for 6 months the moratorium on the receipt of submissions by the Parish Zoning and Planning Commissions for the rezoning or re-subdivision of property and/or on the issuance of permits for construction or placement of any building structures on property south of Interstate 12, north of Highway 190, west of Highway 11, and east of Precinct S19 boundary line within unincorporated boundaries of Ward 9 and District 14. Mr. Randolph will also need an explanation on this one as well.
So move. Actually, we still have in process the revitalization plans. And number two, we making a transition, like to work with my council person that's coming on board.
Motion by Mr. Randolph, second by Mr. Canulette. Please vote.
The motion is unanimous with one absent.
Number 27, ordinance calendar number 7355, ordinance to extend for 6 months the moratorium on issuance of building or conditional use permits for construction or placement of building structures on property within a portion of unincorporated town of Alton subdivision, Ward 9, District 14. Mr. Randolph, and we'll also need those reasons as well again.
Actually, we're basically asking for the same opportunity to be able to be prepared for the next council person to come on board. Just a transition thing. Thank you, Maureen.
And I think you also have some water projects that are ongoing in that area as well, too.
Somewhat?
Some water projects, I think, to bring
Yes.
water into that area and sewer issues
Yes.
to be resolved, if I remember
Yes.
correctly.
Mm-hmm.
All right. All right, motion by Mr. Randolph, second by Mr. Canulette. Please vote.
The motion is unanimous with one absent.
All right, other ordinances, ordinance calendar number 7357, an ordinance amending the official zoning map to reclassify 11,949 square feet of land from its present A2 suburban district to A2 suburban district and MHO manufactured housing overlay, Ward 9, District 11. Mr. Laughlin? Moved by Mr. Laughlin, second by Ms. Tanner. Please vote.
Mr. Laughlin? The motion passes with 12 yeas, 1 nay, and 1 absent.
Number 29, ordinance calendar number 7358, an ordinance establishing a no truck route or no through trucks zone on Boyd Davis Road and Vernon Talley Road, Ward 2, District 6. Ms. Tanner?
I'll make the motion.
Moved by Ms. Tanner, seconded by Mr. Davis. Please vote.
Mr. Laughlin? The motion is unanimous with 1 absent.
All right, number 30, ordinance calendar number 7384, ordinance to appoint Daigle VC PLC as outside counsel for St. Tammany Parish Government for purpose of attaining a determination of parish obligations to fund state mandated expenses for its justice system, sort of belts and suspenders based on a court ruling. I have a motion by Ms. Tanner, second by Mr. Davis. Please vote.
The motion is unanimous with 1 absent.
So ordinance counter number 7385, ordinance to extend for additional 30 days the emergency moratorium on receipt of submissions by the Parish Planning and Zoning Commission for the placement of mobile home overlay or re-subdivision or rezoning of property and/or the issuance of permits by the Parish Department of Planning and Development, permits for the construction or placement of any mobile home in the Howard O'Barry area in District 6, all is more particularly described herein and on the attached map. Ward 4, District 6, Ms. Tanner.
I am doing this moratorium because of public health, safety, and welfare of these trailers being moved in without permits and running electrical lines and everything to them. So we are trying to get a code enforcement out there and do some work on that area. I would like to amend this ordinance to include 3 properties on Howard O'Brien to exclude 3 properties on Howard O'Barry Road that are in the process. They're replacing 1 trailer and they're putting 2 other ones on 2 acres. And the addresses are 37360, 37380, and 37402 Howard O'Brien.
Can you say those
O'Barry
again?
Road.
Can she say those again?
Could you read those again for Ms. Katrina, please?
Okay, 37360, 37380, and 37402 Howard Berry Road.
Okay. It's an emergency, so no, she doesn't.
And I want to move to introduce and amend, to amend.
So we had a motion to amend and a second, so we need to vote on the amendment. Please vote.
The motion is unanimous with one absent.
And then, as amended, we need to vote to adopt.
Mr. Toledano.
Pleasure to be here.
The motion is unanimous with one absent.
All right, so we have a few off-the-floor items. So this is a unanimous vote of everybody to open the agenda for off the floor. Do I have a motion? Motion by Mr. Laughlin, seconded by Mr. Toledano. Please vote.
That motion is unanimous with one absent.
Okay. I make them talk and say why. So, a resolution approving the holding of election in Recreation District Number 2 of the Parish of St. Tammany, State of Louisiana, on Saturday, November 18th, 2023, to authorize a levy of a special tax therein. And Ms. Tanner, since it's off the floor, we'll just need to give you a brief reason why we're doing it off the floor.
Okay, we're doing it off the floor. Mr. Wynn, would you like to, he's representing the district.
For the record, Vincent Wynn, and I have the pleasure of representing the Recreational District Number 2. I don't know if many of you are aware, but Recreational District 2 has a fantastic facility up in Bush. It's been there for a long time. They haven't had funding in over 10 years. Everything they do is by their own fundraising. Matter of fact, the Village of Sun is going to let them use there's a roller rink in the Village of Sun, guys, if you don't know this, and so you can actually rent it. And so they're going to let them rent it and try to put money so that they can actually turn the lights on. So they've asked me to help out, and so I'm asking tonight if you would allow us to place on the ballot 4 mills to try and see if we can get a tax approved up there in the area of Bush. I think the demographics have changed for this area. I think there are a lot of kids. The Recreation District already has so much stuff going on, and it's the folks up there funding it already, and so they would love to be able to have a tax to do this. It's going to generate about $100,000 a year, and it's going to cost the parish about $1,500 to place this on the ballot. Any questions?
I'll take care of it.
Try to answer.
I'll get with you. And I will get with you, Leslie, on how we do that, okay? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And also, I'd like to say, I think they have, 400 kids registered?
They do. They have over 400 kids currently registered. They're playing football. They're actually going to do a basketball, and they also have baseball. Again, this was with no funds. This is people coming in and donating money to use this facility. I had no idea. I live in Walheim. I went up to go visit the rec center. It's a giant facility. It has 3 indoor basketball courts. It has 6 football fields. There's no money to fund this. I'm hopeful that this will pass. They've done a lot to try and get this into the community. I think it's going to pass.
And I would like to see this off the floor and pass due to the time restraint. And because of the health and safety, these kids need something to do. And we want to try and get this millage passed. I'll make the motion.
All right, we have a motion by Ms. Tanner, second by Mr. Canulette. Please vote.
So we need to suspend the rules and adopt next, or?
It's just a
The motion is unanimous with one absent.
All right, number 2, resolution to vacate in part the moratorium originally established by ordinance CS number 22-4800 and most recently extended by ordinance CS number 235089 on receipt of subdivision or submissions by the Parish Planning and Zoning Commission for the re-subdivision or rezoning of certain property and or issuance of certain permits by the Parish Department of Planning and Development permits for the construction or placement of certain building structures on property in the area bounded by South Military Road, Galls Boulevard East, Amber Street, Lake Village Boulevard, Cross Gates Boulevard, Highway 1090, East Porters River, Road, Porters River, West Pearl River, and Doubloon Branch, specifically on the property located at 158 South Military Road. And Mr. Smith, also some reasons on doing it off the floor, please. Thank you. This is for just some reasons on why we're doing it off the floor.
This is a restaurant property. It has been a variety of different restaurants over the years. The last restaurant it was Speckled Teas. I think a lot of people might have been familiar with that. It had a liquor license that was grandfathered in, but the building has been unoccupied for over a year. So there have been various people that have come up that have asked about the property, haven't lifted the moratorium for them. It wasn't right, but we have another restaurant that would like to come in, and I guess I can go ahead. It's Vera's, which is a chain. I think it would add to the community. At the current time, they can come in, but they'd only be able to get wine and beer, and they want a liquor license. It would be an improvement over what we had before, which they were running a nightclub at the very end and operating until 1 o'clock in the morning. The area's got parking. It's bounded by commercial properties. There are apartments nearby, and I know that the owners, the potential owners, are talking to the residents in the area to allay any fears. The property's been used for dump. I had to clean it up a couple of times. I'd like to see it get back into commerce, but my lifting it, they still have to go through planning and zoning. They still have to get a zoning change. That'll be up to planning and zoning and kind of how they fit in with the community. And it may or may not come up to us. This is just like the first step, so they can go ahead and do that.
All right, thank you. So we have a motion to vacate, and as somebody whose district is right across from that, I definitely would like to do anything we could to help them get this back in the commerce as soon as we can. Second by Mr. Canulette. No more further discussion, please vote.
The motion is unanimous with one absent.
Number 3, ordinance to amend the St. Tammany Parish Code of Ordinance, Chapter 2, Administration, Article 4, Officers and Employees, Division 3, Notification of Capital Improvement Special Programs, et cetera, Sections 2-157, 2-158, 2-159, 2-16, and 2-162 regarding notification to the Parish Council of Capital Improvements, Special Programs, et cetera, notification, award, allocation, or changes in use, and approval by resolution of any cooperative endeavor agreement, intergovernmental aid agreement, or sub-recipient agreement. So this is for an introduction only, so we can meet and talk about some of the things that we need to do and get better at, making sure we have the proper notification on these things, because things are getting out there and we're not finding out until later. And also, parish charter sets forth certain requirements for cooperative endeavor agreements, especially regarding the lease of any parish property. And I don't know if we're getting those done in the proper manner. So this is for introduction only, like a motion on this. Mr. Laughlin, and go ahead. Mr. Canulette, go ahead.
I want to talk on this. So, in the era of transparency, for the last 4 years, or almost 4 years, having to put public records requests in just to get the general information, I'm just kind of done with it. So, we need to make this required by ordinance, by law, so there's no more games. We might get something, we might not get it. An example is in 2022 for HUD, they transferred $4 million from one project from Highway 4034 to Safe Haven. We never got a say in it. Didn't get a word. Another one is my favorite now, Covington Trace, new apartments that we're talking about. There's a part of this talking about federal entitlement grant funds for $1.5 million. The staff has repeatedly asked where the money is coming from. Is it new? Is it existing? But like magic, we have gotten no response. And I'm kind of fed up with not getting responses to good, honest legal questions. So I'm just going to call this Magic Mike money. Sometimes the money appears, sometimes it disappears. So before the next meeting, administration, I want to know where the money, the 1.5 million is coming from. Because is it new or is it existing? Because if it's already existing, we can use it for blight also. But we can't. And the other thing I don't understand, like someone maybe at a later date explain is why we're putting that money out on a state highway. Why don't the state put the money out on the state highway? Let's keep our money in parish properties, not state roads. That's what I got to say.
Right. We had a motion and a second on that, I believe, already. That's all
No, we don't.
No, we don't? All right, well, motion by Mr. Canulet, second by Mr. Laughlin. That's all we need. Orders to amend the 2023 grants budget, amendment number 9. Mr. Davis?
Yes, this is a pretty simple thing. HUD has a continuum of care grants that we need to renew pretty quickly. I've asked Mary to come up and maybe explain the reason for this. Ms. Burkell, thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Besides Safe Haven, I also am responsible for the Community Action Agency that gives utility and rental assistance to our citizens. This grant we get on a yearly basis. It's a supportive housing grant. It helps families and individuals get into housing. People who are living in cars, people who are living outside, people who are living in conditions that are not meant for humans to live in. So this grant came, we got the award letter. We have a number of families already in the queue, ready to get homes. We have one lady who is living in her car with her 3 children, 11, 10, and 1. We found them housing, and they lived out of their car, and she continued to work that entire time while she was living in their car with her children. Now, as she's been waiting, her older son has been shot, who is not living with them, and now she's caring for them on top of it. We have 7 other families in the queue. We get our families referred to from North Lake Homeless Coalition, so they go through that process first because they are the umbrella over all, that refers people who are homeless to housing. So this money, why we need it so badly, is because we have families ready and they have apartments ready that we would like to place them in.
Thank you. I'll make a motion to amend the ordinance.
Well, you're making a motion to introduce it, actually, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, the motion, is there, if this is needed, obviously, I think of everything I've heard tonight, people living in cars, is there some way to get this done now?
Yeah, can we?
It seems like a pretty big emergency to me if we got money to get people out of living in their cars.
Is there? Can we?
We're looking at that. While legal is, we have a motion in order to introduce it, but we'll reserve the right to go back and see if we can adopt that as an emergency ordinance.
Jake, I would say that it's a life safety issue, on that basis.
So I would entertain a motion to amend this to be an emergency ordinance.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, so we have a emergent to make this. Are you comfortable with that, Leslie? And
It's because your emergency ordinance will only last for 30 days or something like that, right? 30 days. So the budget will be amended for 30 days, and we'll have to, so you need to, I guess, just add an emergency ordinance, like introduce this one, so it can be adopted, and then you would add an emergency ordinance for the same subject. Does that make sense?
So what we'll do is we'll keep the original one that we just introduced, but what we'll do is we'll do a verbal off the floor to adopt the same ordinance, except for it'll be under the emergency provisions for 30 days. That way we can get these people out of their cars. So is that, okay, so now we just have to. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll need to take a vote to take the emergency ordinance off the floor. So we're going to do that first as a procedure. It has to be unanimous. Huh?
Do you have the second on this one?
Tal Donovan. Okay. All right, so let's vote on that.
The motion is unanimous with 1 absent.
Okay, so we're taking this,
Hold on one second.
a verbal essentially. So we've taken a verbal off the floor for this motion as an emergency ordinance. So now we're going to adopt that emergency ordinance. Mr. Davis moves, Mr. Toledano seconds. Please vote.
The motion is unanimous with no one absent.
Good. So hopefully with that, we can get these people, please move. If there's something else you need, I'll call a special meeting for it. Whatever. Let's get the people out of their cars.
Yeah.
Okay. And can we get that, we'll need that emergency ordinance in writing. I don't know if we can just take a copy of what we have and scratch it out and put emergency on it?
We don't need it right now.
Okay.
Well, we can because we also introduced that one, so.
Well,
we
we'll take
actually need a
another one and do
second
it. Yeah, we'll take another one. All right, we'll take care of that before we leave. Okay, and then the next verbal off the floor is ordinance to amend St. Tammany Parish Capital Improvement Program budget, Go Mesa funds to provide funding for the removal of orphan vessels for waterways in St. Tammany Parish. So I think we need a motion and a second to add this item as an off-the-floor agenda. So we have a motion by Mr. Laughlin, second by Mr. Smith. Please vote on adding this to the agenda.
The
Right.
motion is unanimous with one absent.
Okay, and then, Mr. Laughlin, or do you want to?
So I would like to. I'm introducing an amendment to the Parish Go Mesa's budget to include $100,000 for the identification and removal of orphan vessels in parish waterways. This is the marine version of what we're doing with some of the blighted property. There's, on my side of the parish, we have 5 blighted boats in Bayou Liberty and Lake Pontchartrain that need to be dealt with. These vessels are either, they've been abandoned, and they're either completely or partially submerged. They cause a hazard to people using the waterways, and they're also an environmental concern. I've already spoken with with finance and parish the parish council administrator, and we found the money available, and would like to start this project as soon as possible. It would be a combination with us working with the Marine Division and code enforcement.
Ms. Long, did you have anything to add?
I mean, other than, it's not typical for the council to introduce a budget amendment, so.
It comes from all kinds of folks.
Yeah.
I think there are funds available in the Go Mesa available. Then we have to also refer to, and I think derelict boats is one of the items that's allowed under Go Mesa, but, there's a list of like 7 things that were allowed when we borrowed the money, as part of our loan agreement. So it's just a matter of having to check all those boxes. And then just talking about in section 5.04, the amendments to the operating budget, they're initiated by the administration, not by the council.
I'm sorry?
This is an amendment to the capital improvement budget, which I don't see anything that prohibits that.
I'd have to read my charter again, I'm sorry. I think Carlin's reviewing it, but I'm just making a point that generally the amendments to the budgets are initiated by the administration, so.
My understanding is we did talk, I know we talked with Randy Pacina about it as well, too. on
Yeah.
this, And it's,
Okay.
we got,
Well, that's
so I mean, we didn't just go rogue on this, on it. And I think we got derelict boats out there that we're trying to get removed before we have another hurricane season, make the problem worse. I think it's somewhat urgent, but.
And like I said, I think I do recall the term derelict boats in one of the, I think it's 7 different, eligible uses of the Go Mesa funds.
Well, we just need a motion and a second, so moved by Mr. Laughlin, second by Mr. Canulet, and if we need to work something out, we'll work it out on the back end. All right. I'm not gonna believe this all, but I've entertained it.
You got people in the queue.
Oh, I have people in the queue. Mr. Davis?
Yes, I got a question. Arthur, these 5 boats, do we know who owns them?
There's one of them we know who the owner is. We suspect who the owner is. The other ones, especially the ones that are closer into my district itself, either the identifying markers have been scratched off, either by Mother Nature or intentionally.
All right, so for the one that we know who owns it, is it fair that the taxpayers pay for that?
Well, we're trying to find what the legal process is, and I'm going to work with the administration to figure out what we need to do to make this. It's similar to what we're doing with blighted houses. This is just the marine equivalent of it.
Okay, thanks.
Mr. Randolph?
Yes, I just want to make, to reiterate what Mr. Davis brought up concerning the ownership of those properties, and also just to make sure I understand that the funds have already been somewhat located in some type of grant to cover this?
Funds from the Go Mesa. We borrowed money against our future Go Mesa income. And so we have a capital fund for Go Mesa projects. So this introduction, we will then have to create an actual ordinance, since you'll be adopting it next month, and it will show that information on that ordinance.
Thank you, Leslie.
Mr. Toledano?
Just to mention to my brother Arthur, be conscious of some marine salvage rules and the requirement to give notice to the vessel owner if you can locate their numbers. There's people in the parish who know how to do that, because I've done it with them on the Chifuncta River. So it's not the same as the abandoned housing rule.
All right, we had a motion a second. We already introduced that, though, correct?
See, we gotta go now.
Well, okay. Seeing a motion to adjourn, motion by Ms. Tanner. Everybody says yes. All right. Thank you all.